Nate, when conditions are present and white mold starts to develop, what are growers scouting for? What will they see out there?
Basically, what we notice is when growers begin to think they have a problem, usually they realize they have a problem when it's too late, and too late to do any good with foliar applications. We will notice that they'll have pockets out in the field where things are wilting down, or they'll start to notice some brown stems sticking up on certain plants that are severely infected. They need to get out there and be proactive with it and try to knock those spores down before they have a chance to let the plant begin to get infected.
Yeah, it sounds like prevention can really help a lot in this situation.
Yes.
Grant, how quickly have you seen white mold spread in a field?
It can vary dramatically depending on weather conditions. Sometimes it can go quite fast. You watch it just kind of gradually get worse over a month or so.
Okay. Todd, what kind of yield loss can white mold cause in edible beans?
I know you can lose probably 2/3 of your crop if you get a really severe infection. We shoot for 3,000 pounds. We can be down to 1,000 pounds or under if it's really bad.
So what is the cost of that with today's current prices out there?
I know we're in the 50s right now on kidney bean contracts, are in at 52 cents for dark reds and light reds.
That's pretty significant. You start talking a couple thousand pounds, it doesn't take long to add up, does it?
No, it doesn't. It does not.
Yeah. Grant, how does that compare with a potential loss in soybeans?
Sounds very much the same. I had one guy tell me a couple of years ago that he could have put on a triple dose of Contans and still made a lot more money than what he did because he lost so much.
Wow. So obviously it can be very devastating. Nate, what are some other cultural practices you recommend to your growers to help reduce the threat of white mold disease?
As we've changed our cultural practices and shifted our programs to where we direct cut our beans and we're not getting onto those acres anymore and cultivating them a couple times throughout the season. When you cultivate them, we found that we thought we were disturbing the spores and in a sense kind of destroying them or delaying them and forcing them to start over again. Now when we do that, we're not getting out there and cultivating, and of course we've narrowed our rows up, so we've intensified our canopy, and we've in a lot of ways created our own white mold environment now.
Yeah, some of the practices for increasing yield have created great conditions for white mold, haven't they?
Right. We almost grow a greenhouse environment down in that canopy. So that's why we took on the Contans program, because we liked the idea of trying to start clean, or at least do our best to start the field off clean, and then if we have to follow with something post, we have that option.
Todd, what first motivated you to use Contans on your farm?
Well, we were having some issues with white mold. I don't know which representative gave some idea what to try. So we tried it on some half pivots, and we noticed on those half pivots not only it helped with the control, but the plants seemed to be a little healthier. There was something in it, because you could see right the line where we were at on our incorporating the Contans into soil. So we could see the line quite visibly.
So you could just visually see healthier plants, greener, healthier plants right to the line where you applied the Contans.
Right to the line, because when we incorporated at an angle to the field, so it wasn't something else doing it. So where the thing had turned and went back across, you could see right where the boom was on and where it was off again with the Contans. So it made a believer out of us on the first time we did our trial plots. We did probably 4 or 5 different half pivots, and we could see the actual plant size and healthiness a lot better.
And what kind of disease pressure did you have at that time?
Like we said before, if you try and do it too late, it's always been on ours just a prevention tool.
Yeah.
And that's the way we've looked at it. Some years maybe you could get by without it, but on the other years it's like we wish you would have put it in. There's no do-overs in this game.
And it's very difficult to predict what that season's going to be like, isn't it?
That's right. We tell our guys, we got one shot to do this crop, so you might as well throw everything you can to do it right. And that's the way we've approached the white mold control. It's one of our tools to use.
Right. Great advice.
Nate, how does this compare to the results your growers have experienced in dry edible beans and soybeans?
Well, I think in dried beans primarily is where we've done the majority of our research and stuff with Contans. Is the year has a lot to do with the level of loss or gain, but on an average year with a susceptible variety like small reds or navy beans that produce a dense canopy, for us to gain several hundred pounds, 600 pounds to the acre or so would probably be an average.
Grant, what has interested you most about recommending Contans?
Well, it's been the most consistent product that we've used on white mold. It's out there when the white mold starts. We don't have to worry about timing applications and things like that. And over the long term, it just keeps getting better as you keep using it.
Tell me more about that when you say it keeps getting better. What are you seeing?
As you lower the incidence in the field or the amount of sclerotia in the field, you just don't have the pressure. Most of my guys that use it, I tell them the first time or two you use it, it may not look quite as good as you'd really like it, but after you've used it about 3 times, it just starts really looking good. You almost want to quit using it, but if you're in one of those rotations or whatever that you really need it, you just keep doing it.
You don't want to back off at that point.
Right.
Nate, you're doing the Contans and making that foliar application, and have you found that it's more effective because you're using the Contans? You've already reduced a certain % of the disease, or just tell us a little bit more about the results or the differences you've seen since you added Contans into the program.
Well, I guess going back to what Scott said in a prior comment, seems like with our growers, we've noticed more of the benefits the second or third cycle in our rotation where we're applying Contans once we began to lower the sclerotia counts in the soil. By doing that, the Contans has helped make our foliar applications more effective.
What kind of results have your growers experienced?
Most of ours is on dry edible beans, but I would say for the most part, for us to gain a half a dozen bags is not uncommon. And a half a dozen bags being 100 pounds of beans.
Excellent. Nate, what's your recommended rate of Contans? Let's say a 2-pound application.
2-pound application, we're spending close to $40 an acre. If you get at the minimum 6 bags at $50 a bag, that's $300 an acre. So you're spending $40 to make $300. You just made a $260 an acre net profit. That's pretty good return on your investment.
That sounds like a pretty good return. Thanks, Nate, for sharing that. Todd Becker, we appreciate you sharing your experience with us. What do you value most about Contans?
It seems to be a good tool to have. There's no one tool that's going to solve everything, but it's just another tool that helps control what's out there to get the maximum yield.
Excellent. Great point. Thanks so much, Todd. Grant Young, what would you like our listeners to remember from our discussion?
Well, I think the fact that if you use it on a year when you don't have white mold, that doesn't mean it isn't going to help you the next time you have a severe infestation.
Great point. Thanks for reminding us of that. Nate Vandenberg, why will Contans continue to be part of your disease control recommendations?
Oh, I think we're going to keep using it for a long time because it's a great tool that we have as part of a long-term solution to our white mold program. Our white mold problems continue to worsen year after year, but what we notice is the long-term benefits of Contans. What we applied 3 or 4 years ago, we're still seeing the benefits of that application that we made 3 or 4 years ago, along with sequential applications that we've made in the following years. But it's a cumulative effect, so that's the main reason why we're going to continue to use it in the future.
Excellent. Thanks, Nate.